Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Long Walk Talks. My name is David Hensley. I am the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today, as always, by my two co-hosts, Stan Wilson Lee.
Hello.
And Chris Barnes.
How's it?
And we are going to be continuing our new Roaring Twenties segment. In this episode, we are going to be covering our favorite films from the years 2005 through 2009.
What? I thought it was 2010 through 2015. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you hang on to that list for our October or November episode. I don't remember which it is at this point.
I'm sorry, what? I was busy deleting my recycling bin. What the?
Were you really not listening?
No, you said something about not deleting lists. We should.
I was
yeah.
kidding about having that. I didn't do 2005 through 2009. I did 2010 through 2015, but I didn't really
Hang on,
do
I need
that,
to try and see if I can do something real quick.
All right. Well, while you guys frantically put new lists together, I'm going to continue what we started with the first episode that was 2000 through 2004 with a couple of weird facts. In the year 2005, YouTube was founded, and a personal favorite of mine, Charlie the Unicorn, came out. 2005 was the year that Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch and became a meme.
Oh, Lord.
Prince Harry...
I thought you said become a man.
No, he still hasn't done that. Prince Harry went to a costume party dressed as a Nazi.
Yes.
And unfortunately, 2005 was also the year that Hunter S. Thompson committed suicide. So let's, on that extremely happy note, I wasn't considering that when I assembled this list.
You really need to jumble these up a little better.
Yeah, I think I might proofread my facts before I do 2006 through 2009. All right, Stan, you want to start us off with your favorite movie of 2005?
I would really. I'd love to. I'd love to do that.
Good.
Because you're gonna.
2005 was a really interesting year, and there was choices I could have done, but History of Violence is my pick for 2005. The David Cronenberg, starring Viggo Mortensen, and arguably his best performance.
Mm-hmm.
He may have topped it with the next year with Eastern Promises, but for the sense of a breakout performance, it definitely, I think it re-put him on the map, even though he had just finished Lord of the Rings. But I think History of Violence made him a name in the sense that, he's up there in the echelon of great actors. And then it just proved, and I think it also made David Cronenberg's considered a great director in that sense.
Yeah, it was a big comeback for him.
Big comeback, kind of an escape from the genre that he was put in. Even though it's a genre film.
Yeah, it was an indie darling for a director who up to that point had been just a cult horror director primarily.
Exactly. And but yeah, performances all around in that movie are just spectacular. Ed Harris is brilliant as the antagonist, but William Hurt, actually, I went back to reread about it and review it, and I had forgotten about William Hurt's character, and it's a major portion of the film. And he was nominated for an Oscar for it, for Best Supporting Actor.
And he's in the movie for less than 5 minutes.
It's a very quick time, but he makes every moment of it spectacular, and he's fantastic. There's a lot. If I talk more about History of Violence, it would be spoiler-ridden because it is a film about reveals.
Yeah, and I will tell listeners, if you haven't seen it, it's a hard film to watch. It lives up to the title because it is some of the most realistic and horrifying, brutal displays of violence you'll see outside of a mainstream horror movie. So.
And it's real life violence, so it's not cartoony like horror violence, but it's a lot of hand-to-hand stuff, a lot of probably more hand-to-hand than gunplay, particularly, but it's brutal in the sense of Edward Norton,
Ed Harris,
but oh my God, why am I forgetting?
American History X.
American History X brand of physical violence.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's based on a graphic novel, isn't it?
it is based on a
Yeah,
graphic
I've
novel.
read it. It's not great. The movie's actually much
Well,
better.
that's funny. That's actually kind of similar to another movie that I think I cover later on, kind of based on a graphic novel but better.
Nice.
And yeah, History of Violence, and like I said, there's a lot of great stuff in this period of films that we'll be discussing, and so picking 5 or 6, you have a lot to choose from that can be considered great. And History of Violence came in quiet, it went through the process quiet, and then all of a sudden it's just started getting talked about, and I didn't see it. Most of these films I didn't see actually in the theater when they were released.
There's quite a few on my list that ended up that way too.
But History of Violence, I caught it and on the DVD, and it quickly made its name known. It was fantastic.
Now that
See it definitely.
Now that I'm looking at the list, actually, oh no, never mind. 4 out of the 5 that I picked, I did see in the theater. Anyway, Chris.
Actually, before I talk about my movie, as an interesting trivia note, A History of Violence has the distinction of being the final major Hollywood movie released on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Yes, it
last
does.
one.
Yep. All right. So your favorite film of 2005.
2005. Not a lot for me for 2005, but there were some really strong ones. 2005 was the year of The 40-Year-Old Virgin,
Mm-hmm.
a strong movie, and it was the first movie where that kind of solidified Steve Carell as a movie star. I think Anchorman came out before that, but this was the first time he was in a lead. So
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny you picked what is technically a comic book movie. I picked what was technically I didn't pick, but it was also in the running. What was technically a superhero movie, Disney's Sky High had come out that
Oh.
year. And it was a fun movie. I'm surprised they never actually did more with that after the fact. But my pick for 2005 is kind of the I don't know if it's the polar opposite of what you chose, but it definitely was my favorite movie of 2005 looking back on it, and that's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Nice.
It's such a good movie. It's Martin Freeman as Arthur Dent, Mos Def as
Mos Def.
the alien traveler friend.
Mhm.
I'm sad I forgot.
I know it
his name.
starts with an A. I can't remember the rest of his name.
Does it?
I could be
But
completely
Sam
wrong about
Rockwell
that.
as Zaphod Beeblebrox. Zoe Deschanel as I
My
forgot
girl.
her name too. I forgot her character's name.
You're
It's Zoe
doing
Deschanel.
great.
That's
Thank you, X-Force.
X-Force.
Oh my God, Alan Rickman as Marvin the paranoid android.
Ah,
Oh, it's so good.
rest in peace, Alan Rickman.
And Stephen Fry as the voice of the guide, with some fantastic animated bits illustrating the guide at various points. A lot of people were like, okay, a lot of people did that thing that people do after they go see a movie like this. It's like, well, the book was better.
Mhm.
I don't care. I don't care. This movie got me to read the series.
Yeah.
I went and saw this and was like, oh, this is right up my alley humor-wise. And from there, I read the books. I saw the original BBC miniseries that people love so much. And I still like the movie more. And it's like, after reading through all of it, I was like, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I still love the Infinite Improbability Drive. And the segment with the whale and the bowl of petunias. It's a great adaptation, and I think something to remember when you compare the adaptations. Douglas Adams, he also had a radio series of it as well.
Mhm.
He did every iteration. He strove to basically do the story, but do it to the utmost benefit of that medium. So every version of his telling is slightly different, but it's adapted to that medium as well as he can. And I think it really shines through more than people think it does.
Nice.
And I can't recommend it enough.
Nice. Do you have any runners up?
Oh, I just mentioned my runners-up beforehand.
Oh, okay,
It was
gotcha.
Sky High in the 40-year-old version.
Gotcha.
Like I said, not a lot for 2005 as far as I remember.
Oh, see, I have more runners up for 2005 than any other year we've covered so far, just because so much good shit came out that year.
I have that problem coming up, but we'll get there.
Everything else, I picked my favorite film and 2 runners up. This 2005. All right, my pick for favorite film was Ryan Johnson's Brick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I know you love that. You can't
Yes.
stop talking about it.
I am a
Yeah.
huge fan of that film. High school film noir. It's fantastic. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
That was really his
is-
big breakout as a movie
Yeah,
actor,
as a-
wasn't it?
I don't know. Well, because
Well-
he'd
Well, he was in like Angels in the Outfield and stuff like that
Yeah.
previously, but I think this is like his first leading man thing, wasn't it?
It probably broke him in the sense.
Or at least in the yeah, like it was big first high profile one.
yeah. Well, I know this
400
was
Days was a little bit later. So.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was several years later. I really don't know enough about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's career to tell you.
I feel like this was his first major thing after Third Rock from the Sun.
Well, Brick was another, like, A History of Violence, an indie darling. It did not. I couldn't even tell you if it got a theatrical release or not. I saw it a few years later when it was on Netflix. But I had so much trouble narrowing this list down because Batman Begins and A History of Violence were heavy contenders for my favorite movie of
yeah.
that year.
Batman Begins.
I
was
often
in
forget
my-
the year Batman Begins comes out.
And
in my short
also
list, definitely.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang
with Val Kilmer and Robert Downey Jr. is one of the best films of that year. It's the year Serenity came out,
Exactly.
and V for Vendetta. 2005 was a great fucking year for film.
I think Batman Begins ends up being the least favorite of the Nolan Batman films for me because it's another origin / lead up to the stuff you want to get to, which happens in Dark Knight and Rises.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the whole Scarecrow fear of
I'm not saying it's a
is what
bad
propels
movie.
you
I'm
is-
saying it's my least favorite just because it's like I get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, just be Batman
and
already.
has Katie in it.
Yeah, it has Katie
Speaking
Holmes,
of Tom Cruise,
Tom Cruise, and jumping on couches.
That just reminds me of a joke.
because
I'm
he
sorry.
jumped on couch for Katie.
I love this woman.
I just remember seeing a picture online of someone who captioned it with the scene from jumping ahead, The Dark Knight and Brokeback Mountain, where it's like find you someone who will hold you the way Heath Ledger holds the Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
It's the scene of him holding Maggie hostage at the party, and then the one with his arm around Jake in Brokeback Mountain.
along with Batman Begins, Brokeback was in my short list for 2005. So
Yeah, I am just realizing, looking back, about Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch. This is the second shout out Oprah has got, because in the first retrospective episode we talked about how
The car episode, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
car. Everybody got you get a car and you get a car, and by the way, now you have to pay the taxes for that car. Or you don't get to keep it.
You got to pay him like now.
Yeah. So moving on to 2006, that was the year that Facebook became public, and you didn't need a college email
And
to sign up
everything
for it.
worked out forever.
Absolutely did not become a cesspool. That was the year that Twitter was launched. Did not know this.
You're right. This is a dark year for history.
This was apparently the year that Throwback Thursday became a thing. #TBT.
I refuse to care about that.
Yeah. That was the year that Blu-ray discs came out and quickly overtook HD DVDs. Remember when that whole battle was happening?
Yeah. The
No one else does.
Oh, you know what's funny about that is like I think people in the know, or at least people who understood the industry well, kind of knew which way that battle was going to go pretty quickly.
Because Sony adopted Blu-ray for the PS3.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Xbox was like, here's a $200 add-on you can buy for the Xbox 360 that'll play HD DVDs.
And on top of that, it was just like I think spec-wise they knew Blu-ray was better because I remember 2006 was I was taking I was in the teleproduction course at York Tech, and I remember our instructor, very smart man, knows this stuff. He basically was talking about HD DVD and Blu-ray, and he said Blu-ray is going to win.
Yeah.
And he just straight up, he just said it matter-of-factly, and it's like, I believe him then, you know.
Well, these last two facts, I did list these accordingly this time. 2006 was the year that, unfortunately, Steve Irwin was killed by a stingray. However, 2006 was also the year that Dick Cheney shot his friend in the face with a shotgun. So, that happened.
Coincidence? Yeah, probably, actually.
All right, Stan, 2006, what was your favorite film?
I apparently have a theme to my listings. It's going to be a lot of noir in this. Because we had History of Violence previously for 2005. 2006, going back and adding one of my main men, Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
Actually, I have to stop you there. That does have an R in it.
Which? Did
Nope.
I say Departed?
Nope, I said
Departed.
Nope, I was just capitalizing on a terrible joke. You said it had a no R in it.
Oh, my God.
Leave this in.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be holding auditions for a new co-host of Long Walk Talk soon.
Hey, Dogs is doing something similar.
I have a lot of crime fiction in my
The Departed, yes.
And The Departed could be hands down one of the best criminal procedural gang mob movies ever made, and it's definitely out of Scorsese's mob movie wheelhouse. It's because it's more straight up Ed McBain police procedural. Who's going after who, but what's interesting about this, and with the knowledge that Jack Nicholson's in it, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I was about to say, if you haven't listed Leonardo DiCaprio yet.
And I want to say it's their first. No, because Aviator was previous.
Yeah.
So it's probably the start of their continued partnership.
Very much a who's who kind of movie.
Yes.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And my boy Martin Sheen's in it as the superintendent. But what makes this great, and again, I didn't see it until it came out on home access on the DVD, and I own it, but I didn't see it in the theater. But I did see, previous to seeing The Departed, because it's based on it, Infernal Affairs.
I was going to ask about that. It's
The
based-
Hong Kong film.
That's
which
a series, isn't it?
It is. It's
Yeah.
There's three films in the series, and again, one of the great crime fiction movies ever made. And Departed is almost a straight remake of it.
Almost, except spoiler alert: The Departed didn't leave room for two more sequels.
The
by the
Departed
end of it.
did
No, it
not
did not.
leave, unless you considered The Irishman. But but no, that's more a Goodfellas Casino sequel, I suppose. But The Departed is Mark Wahlberg got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for it.
Which is crazy because I love Mark Wahlberg in that movie, but there were other better people in there.
And I think it was the only acting nomination made for that movie. And yes, you're right. Because you, like I said, you had Martin Sheen, but then you had in the Mole versus Plant. You had Matt Damon as the mob mole in the police department, and then you had Leonardo DiCaprio as the police department's mole in the mob. And then you, of course, you had Jack Nicholson as the mob boss. So it's like you had a cast. You had a fucking cast, and the Martin Scorsese's classic '70s energy is all over it, and that's what was really pleasing as well. And but just to see Matt Damon at his best, Leonardo DiCaprio is at his best. I'm saying it better now, aren't I?
I don't want to correct you because then I'm afraid you'll start saying it more weirdly.
But everybody in that cast is totally with this story. And again, can't say too much about it because, again, it's a movie of reveals and there's a lot of spoilers and, who's who. But I think I did give it away with saying who's part of what.
Well, you're told who the moles are.
Yes.
Pretty early on. Well, yeah, immediately in the film.
But what I like about The Departed is that it says go back and watch the original source material of Infernal Affairs. In almost every scene, it's saying, yes, we are our own movie, but you need to go see this movie too. You need to see this movie. And I totally agree. Infernal Affairs is one of the great films that I don't think American audiences has ever seen. So it's like, if you are listening to this and you know The Departed and you've seen The Departed and you like The Departed, definitely see Infernal Affairs in that sense.
Nice. Chris, 2006?
2006. 2006 is interesting. There's kind of a different variety of stuff I have here. I'm going to go runners up to actual movie. First one is Over the Hedge. It was one of my runners up. It was a fun DreamWorks movie. They never really carried that comic strip here in town, so I never read it before I saw the movie. But it had a fun plot. It was basically human land development is encroaching on the actual natural area, so the animals have to adapt and learn to live via scavenging from people. And Bruce Willis plays a raccoon.
Okay, all right. I've never seen this film.
No.
I love that your lists tend to be so hilariously opposite of me and Stan's.
It is, isn't it? Gary Shandling was a turtle. Nick
Makes
Nolte
sense.
was a bear.
Makes sense.
But basically, the real basic plot is the raccoon character Bruce Willis plays is in debt to the bear character, and he has to get him a bunch of food he owes him. So he uses the animals dealing with the neighborhood encroachment. And he teaches them to scavenge the food so he can get it to the bear and pay off his debt, basically.
And then he has a change of heart.
Oh, and William Shatner plays a possum, and Avril Lavigne plays his daughter.
All right. So that was one of the runners-up? you
Yes.
said? Okay.
Steve
all right.
Carell's a squirrel. I'll just keep listing characters.
No, that's good.
Did you say he drills a
No,
squirrel?
no, he is a squirrel.
Okay.
Hammy is his name.
Oh my God.
Who plays him?
Steve Carell.
That's okay.
That's where you got drill from.
I said it really fast. The other movie I enjoyed from that year was Clerks 2.
Oh man, yeah, I
That
forgot
made my
about
short
that.
list as well.
I think one of my favorite things Kevin Smith did was the opening where he has Brian O'Halloran recreate Dante opening the store, and he raises the shutters, and it is just a wall of fire in front of him, and it's color. It's a Wizard of Oz moment because the fire is in color, and then after that the movie goes to color, unlike the first one, and then shenanigans ensue from there.
Yeah.
That
Well-
also includes the classic Randall versus what's the kid's name? I forget.
Elias.
Randall versus Elias in Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars.
Yeah,
Which-
and let's not forget about the famous.
Which that's entirely Kevin Smith's voice, because that whole walking the ring up thing that Randall does, is almost verbatim how Kevin Smith describes Lord of the Rings in one of the Evening with Kevin Smiths.
I know, and I've never understood how he could not like Lord of the Rings, but whatever.
I don't know. It's just.
Clerks 2 also gives us Randall.
I mean, honestly,
versus,
it's for Star Wars.
yeah. It also gives us Randall versus Wanda Sykes
Oh
in
yeah.
one of the
yes.
most memorable scenes, and then the
Yes.
Donkey Show.
The Donkey Show.
Randall coming to the
I can't
realization.
believe you mentioned that before me.
Randall coming to the realization that his grandma was racist.
Yes.
Yes.
And Pillow Pants.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Yes.
All right. Well, I gotta rewatch Clerks 2 now. Thanks.
The other one is the one Dave's gonna groan at, but I really love Talladega Nights: The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Of course you
It
do.
just nails NASCAR culture, and it has so many great moments, including the prayers to baby Jesus scene.
But it didn't nail it enough because it's still here.
Nah, it's not going away.
The movie or NASCAR?
NASCAR.
Oh, okay. Yeah, NASCAR
You're
is not going anywhere,
you're
but
not- we live within 40 minutes of the Hall of Fame.
yeah.
And another.
Formula One all the way.
All right,
Wow.
put it back in your pants, Italia.
God, you made me forget. Broken Lizard came out with Beer Fest that year.
Beer Fest was on my short list.
A very good movie. I still don't. I like a lot of people love that one the most. I do not rank it above Super Troopers 1 or
Right.
2 ever. This was also the year Idiocracy came out. Not a hit in theaters. It like I want to say like Office Space. It gained traction after it was on DVD, and it became like a following came from there.
Back when people would watch that movie and think, "Ha, that's never going to happen," before it became a documentary.
Yeah. But my favorite movie from 2006, which I mentioned before, is another Will Ferrell movie. But it was a more serious stab. It was more comedy/drama. But very much that kind of weird magical realism kind of thing where it's Will Ferrell's a very boring I think he's a CPA, like an accountant, and all of a sudden he starts hearing a voice narrating his life and narrating the fact that he's going to die soon, and he's on a quest to stop that from happening. It's called Stranger Than Fiction, and it's an interesting movie because it's all you don't. They don't hammer it home that the author, who he ends up finding out is actually narrating his life and controlling it to some degree until she finishes her story, has this power. And she kind of there's a very small scene where she just kind of thinks for a second, it's like, has everyone else I've ever written into a story, has it happened to them too? And they don't really press it too hard, but it really is something to think about. I'm trying to think of a word better than interesting, because that's what it is. Like, not in the sense of I'm just trying to think of something non-committal to say about it, but that it is. It's a fascinating concept to me because it's both. It's kind of like it's kind of like a modern day fairy tale in a lot of ways. Actually, yeah, no, that fits it very well. It's very much a modern day fairy tale.
Very nice. All right, well, my number one from 2006, I won't go too much into it because, much like Stan, it was The Departed. However, I do want to share one of my favorite bits of dialogue of all time between Alec Baldwin and Mark Wahlberg.
I forgot Alec Baldwin.
Oh, yeah.
In which Alec Baldwin's character tells Dignam, Mark Wahlberg's character, "Fuck yourself. I'm tired from fucking your wife. How is your mother? Good. She's tired from fucking my father." It's just one of my all-time favorite movie exchanges. Just the casual delivery of "good, she's tired from fucking my father." Anyway, I got two runners-up for this year. Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth.
Ah, yes.
And Casino Royale, the
That's right,
relaunch
yes.
of the Bond franchise.
True that.
That gave us Daniel Craig as James Bond.
With one of the strongest Bond themes ever.
Oh, yeah. Chris Cornell's You Know My Name is, I think, better than Skyfall, Adele's Skyfall theme. Like that, You Know My Name is perfect both as a Bond theme and just as a great fucking song.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing for Casino Royale for me is that it introduced parkour into the Bond films, didn't it?
Yeah, parkour was pretty
Rooftop
popular
chase.
at that time.
But I mean,
yeah.
in the sense as a Bond style martial art.
It was before you started seeing parkour in other mainstream films, and they had the benefit of getting the guy who invented parkour
Exactly.
to play the guy doing it in the film.
Nice. I also really enjoyed the villain. Le Chiffre has one of the best villain tells of all time, where he has an injury to his eye, so he cries blood occasionally.
Yes.
Like when his eye just goes to water, just blood comes out instead.
Yeah, fantastic movie. So that was 2006. Moving on to 2007, which was the year the first iPhone was released.
Hey, they just recently announced 11.
It was also the year that the first Amazon Kindle was released. Kindle's Amazon, right? Did I get that? Yeah, because Nook's
Yes.
Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, you're right. My sister has one of the small ones. They're really neat, actually.
Nice. 2007 was the year Icon Has Cheeseburger became a thing. The Icon Has Cheeseburger
Oh
cat.
my God.
Stan's looking at me like you don't remember Icon Has Cheeseburger cat?
2007's a blank. For
Okay.
Except for my
that was.
movie.
I'm gonna rearrange the way these are ordered because.
Oh no.
Yeah. 2007 was the year that the doomsday clock was set to 5 minutes to midnight. So impending nuclear disaster.
Well, that's the year I started that I taught. I graduated Winthrop, and then I started teaching that.
Okay, so that makes perfect
So,
sense.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
And
doomsday was
done,
nigh.
I was done 2008.
Oh, are you showing him I Can Ask Cheeseburger?
That's the original
So
one.
is he related to Grumpy Cat?
No.
No, this is just the first Grumpy Cat. This was...
Oh, it was before. It was pre-Grumpy.
I don't want to go on a college thesis limb here, but I feel like the I Can Has Cheeseburger Cat is the first example of the meme.
It really made it explode in the sense of like the image macro kind of really just kind of exploded into the mainstream.
Yeah. All right, so I had to get the dark thing about the doomsday clock out of the way so that I can say 2007 was the year that Britney Spears shaved her head and Lindsay Lohan went to rehab 3 times.
Are you saying that every time they have a relapse or a freak out, that's a sign the doomsday clock is going to get moved up?
I'm not saying those 2 things or those 3 things are related, but
They're not mutually exclusive.
maybe
all right. So
in a world.
So they can feel it like psychically, and then they freak out. Is that?
possibly. All right.
I'm
so
writing
Stan,
a horror movie in my head right now.
there's a strong possibility that ours are going to be the same yet again. So
Well, mine won't.
what is your favorite film of 2007?
I'm going to continue the noirish aspect crime movie, and this isn't completely fiction though, because it's based on true stuff in a book, Zodiac.
I'm sorry. I just love the phrase "true stuff in a book."
Robert Graysmith's Zodiac Killer, and or book of the same name, Zodiac, based on the Zodiac Killer, and
The Zodiac Killer, Ted Cruz.
That was one of the weirdest jokes to come out about him, and
No, and I love it.
but again, this continued David Fincher's great run of knowing how to deal with killers in a movie, and how to portray serial killing or try to portray, just monstrosity of the human underbelly in films. And believe it or not, I think it's better than 7. It's definitely
That's high praise.
It's definitely more deliberate. It's not. It makes no pretense of being this brilliant action movie or oh my god, a surprise at every corner, blah blah blah. It's a procedural, and beautifully photographed, beautiful performances. Again, another early performance from Mark Ruffalo. He's brilliant. It's Robert Downey, so it's like, and it's Mr. Gyllenhaal, Jake Gyllenhaal. So the current MCU triumvirate is being created back with David Fincher back in 2007. And then, of course, we get Robert Downey and Iron Man following year. But Zodiac is probably one of the great... I would say it's better than Silence of the Lambs.
Oof.
Just because it's real. It's based on true information, and David Fincher made sure that everything that was said in the movie was equivalent to the truth that Graysmith had in his book.
I feel like we just lost a lot of followers.
But in the sense of watching a movie, I still, Silence of the Lambs is still...
And, Buffalo Bill was based on Ed Gein.
Buffalo Bill was based on Ed
but
Gein.
you can also say that about like 5 different franchises.
But the thing about Silence, there was definite moments of, we're going to make this big. It's going to be a showstopper. So the thing with David Fincher is that his stuff really isn't about stopping the show. It's about putting the camera there, letting the performers do what they were scripted to do, and ideally give the characters life that you're doing. And the guy who plays, who we believe is the killer Zodiac, is Drew Carey's brother from the Drew Carey Show.
I can't remember his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
And he's brilliant. And the film doesn't give anything away about is it really him? They stick with what was the facts at the time of the movie's making, and because the Zodiac killer has never been
Right.
officially announced, but this person is the number one being. So yeah, Zodiac. I think again, I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't see it until it came out, but I got the special edition DVD. So to get the commentary, from David Fincher about and just the meticulousness of his research and making sure that anybody that was writing about or getting information from Graysmith's book, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays Robert Graysmith, by the way.
Right.
And Robert Downey is the San Francisco Bee editor that was doing all the newspaper articles, and then Mark Ruffalo is the detective that was in charge of the case, and all three of them together are just wonderful together, and great team, and even Anthony from ER, Anthony Edwards, thank you,
Okay.
plays Ruffalo's partner. And
You looked at
great.
Chris as though that would mean something to him. Are you a closet Anthony Edwards fan?
No.
He is now.
I was going to say Kiedis.
He's a classic Red Hot Chili Pepper fan.
Yeah, there it is.
But yes, Seven is, and it's still one of my great movies. Of all
Zodiac?
time. Zodiac, thank you. Zodiac's still one of my great.
Your
but
brain
Seven
tells
is,
the truth.
Seven is also one of my favorite films of all time, and it happens to be both by David Fincher. So
Nice. Chris, 2007?
2007. Again, not 2005 and 2007 were kind of like not as memorable movie-wise for me. My runners up. There's a theme to two of them because they're both law enforcement movies. My first runner-up is Reno 911 Miami. If you haven't seen that show, you should. And the movie is
brilliant.
just as insane. The Rock has a cameo in the beginning where he gets blown up.
Fantastic.
The basic plot is they go to Miami for a police convention. Everyone, I can't forget the exact reason, but all the cops in the convention end up being trapped in the building for some reason. So the cops from Reno are the only police force in Miami at the moment who can actually go out and assist with stopping crimes. And that's the whole premise. Oh, and they're terrible at it.
Well, yeah.
And the next one is Hot Fuzz.
Ah, yes.
Hot Fuzz is great.
A great movie. It's just so much fun. With Simon Pegg as I think it's Sergeant Nicholas Angel, who is so good at his job that he makes the rest of his department in the city look bad, so they ship him off to the country, and he uncovers a sinister plot. My third runner-up for that year is a big one because they're finally getting a sequel into motion for it. The Simpsons movie.
Wow.
The Simpsons movie, came in 2007 after a couple decades on television.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I forgot that the Simpsons movie even happened.
Oh, it was good, and they brought back a lot of the early writers, and they went all out for that movie. And they did it. I think that probably one of the best single jobs on The Simpsons that was ever done. And it gave me the phrase that I always repeat to myself every time something is going wrong, and that's doomsday is family time.
That sounds right.
That and the memorable.
So it was following the Doomsday Clock, is what?
Well, no, that's when Springfield has a dome placed over it.
A couple of years before Stephen King did it.
Yeah, and they're about to blow it up because there's something wrong with the city or something because of a insane EPA manager who wants, for some reason, to blow up the city.
Like you do.
But it also gave one of the best moments ever, which was Homer escaping through a hole because the city is after him, and as he's about to try and sneak down through the hole, he just looks at him and just gives him the double fingers. But my favorite movie of 2007 is one I didn't actually see in 2007. I saw it a couple years later, at a family member's house for Thanksgiving. Because after we ate, it was tradition to go see a movie or watch a movie, either go out or sit down and watch one. And they were a well-traveled couple, and they had a bunch of stuff from English media, and I looked at this and was like, hey, let's try this one, and I ended up loving it. Now they remade it, I want to say like maybe 2010 for America, but this one still remains the best. It is absolutely hilarious. It is a British ensemble comedy called Death at a Funeral.
Yes, fantastic.
Where everyone is gathering for the family to meet for the funeral of the patriarch who passed away.
And everything that can go wrong does.
Yeah, there are people who are in charge of just this angry old relative who can't get around on his own. Alan Tudyk plays a boyfriend to one of the characters who is very nervous about being around the family, or being looked down upon by his girlfriend's father. So her pharmacist student brother gives him something to calm him down. But instead of it being like, was it like...
It's supposed to be a Xanax, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Instead he gives him ecstasy?
He gives him this experimental ecstasy-type drug that he's making. And so he just starts tripping balls throughout the funeral. And then there's the main character, the son of the guy who's trying his best to just manage this whole affair, and then has to end up dealing with the fact that Peter Dinklage, who was apparently his dead father's gay midget lover, shows up wanting to talk about the relationship at the funeral.
Peter Dinklage got the distinction of playing the same role in both versions of the film, including the American remake.
I have no doubt he nailed it again.
Because the American remake is Chris Rock and stuff.
It is. It's Chris Rock. I think
And
a lot of prominent black actors.
Cedric the Entertainer is in it, I think.
Either that or
Bernie Mac.
I think maybe Bernie Mac before he passed.
Yeah. In the original Alan Tudyk, who played, he was kind of an outcast already because he was American, right?
Right.
Yeah. In the remake, that role is played by James Marsden, who's an outcast because he's the only white person there.
Mm-hmm.
Besides
Peter Dinklage when he shows up.
I honestly, I'm not gonna say anything bad about the American one just because I haven't watched it. Just I saw this one, and I was in love with it.
Yeah, I saw it. I never saw the remake just because I didn't see any reason to.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them being able to top the British version.
Oh God, no! It is insane.
All right, well, Stan, our top picks for 2007 did not match up. Mine is actually a tie because I just could not pick between these two films, and ironically, they both star Casey Affleck. One is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, and the other is Gone Baby Gone.
Both made my short.
I will say I've not seen either of those movies, but specifically The Assassination of
Jesse James.
By the coward.
Yeah, I have listened to that soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
and my God, that's an amazing soundtrack.
Assassination is one of those films that you actively have to be in the mood to want to watch. It's not something that you can put on and do other things.
Oh yeah.
Because it's almost 3 hours long. It's an intense character study. There's not a whole hell of a lot of dialogue,
and there's not a whole hell of a lot of gunfights in a.
For a Western, yeah. There's very little gunplay. It's just Brad Pitt and Casey Affleck
at their best.
Yeah, some of their best work.
It was you that suggested that movie to me, so I never saw it until it was 2011, 2012 before I saw it, so it was way after it. And but when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is a great movie. I
got to see this, and sadly, I was the only person in the movie theater. One of my best friends used to be a manager up at the Ballantine Theater back when it was still an indie theater and only showed indie films, and so he got me in to see it, and it was something to behold on a 40-foot screen. The cinematography is
gorgeous,
beautiful. Yeah. So those two are tied. Gone Baby Gone is just a masterful noir detective story from Dennis Lehane. I think that was Ben Affleck's first feature film that he directed.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
just a wonderful. It's a very dark, very hard to watch film, based on a very dark, very hard to read book.
Again, another movie where they just let. There was no. It was deliberate. It very deliberately filmed, deliberately performed, and it wasn't about who's going to make the big scene. Even though there were big moments in it, but they weren't like, set up to be big moments. I mean, what's her face? Is it Amy Adams or Amy,
No,
the
no.
other Amy?
No, it's neither Amy. But your floundering for names made me forget her name.
Perfect. Thanks for
Yeah,
filling the
thanks.
air.
That's great pod. Michelle Monaghan.
Michelle Monaghan.
you were close.
Isn't it?
Yeah, she plays Angie. Which character are you thinking of?
The
Are you thinking of Amy Ryan?
Amy Ryan.
Okay.
That's who I'm thinking of. Her stuff.
Actually, I have to apologize to you. There's a lot of Amy's in this movie. There's Amy Ryan playing Helene McCready, and then there's Amy Madigan.
Amy Madigan is
playing B.
because Ed
McCready.
Harris is in it too, isn't he? He's
Another
the
Ed
detective,
Harris film.
and Amy Madigan happens to be his wife in real life. And so it's
Look
like
at that.
speaking of Ed Harris, did you know I used to work with his father? I think I told you this story, right? At the Art Institute of Chicago, he was
Yes, yeah,
in the
yeah.
book department when I was in the gift department of the museum
neat.
shop. But yeah, we got to talk about, and when Ed was nominated for Best Actor for Pollock, Bob Harris was all excited because he was actually going to the Oscars that
Oh,
year. So
nice.
it was
That's really
awesome.
sweet.
That's
It was awesome.
fantastic.
So, before, if you, are you done?
We love Ed Harris.
Just my two runners.
Oh, go for it.
My runners up for 2007 were No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
And kind of a departure from everything else on this list, but I just love this film so much. The Bourne Ultimatum.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't think it's too much of a
great.
departure for you.
No.
It's great.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Chris?
Well, I just realized I've been remiss. I also have my worst of the year,
Yeah, see, I didn't do any worse
I know
for
you
this
didn't.
year.
I know
or
you
for
guys
any of
didn't.
these years.
but I go the extra mile for you. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
nothing stood out for me as badly.
Well, I need to jump back real quick to 2005. I had 3 for that
We're in
year.
a time machine.
Yes. Soaring,
Hot tub
soaring space and time. My 3 for 2005 were The Island. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, I love The Island.
yeah.
That's a great
Terrible.
fucking
It's
movie.
terrible.
McGregor. Man.
Terrible.
And ScarJo.
And ScarJo.
Terrible.
All right, what else you got?
When they were
The Family
babies.
Stone.
Yes.
God, I
unfortunately,
hate
I
that
watched
movie.
that with an ex.
I know there are people who love it, but it's just that whole family is just
Stoned.
the last place I want to be at for any gathering of any sort.
Yeah, that is one of the worst films I've
And
seen.
Sarah Jessica Parker's character just seems to be there for people to lash out at.
And what's your third?
Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah. I saw bits and pieces of that. Do you want to go ahead and jump to your 2006?
Oh, I saw it in theaters. You don't want to get filled in.
No.
Yeah, I'll just catch up real quick. 2006 was important because it was X-Men: The Last Stand. Where amongst everything they ruined, they included the Juggernaut. That is nothing against Vinnie Jones, but they just tore that character apart.
God bless. They brought him back for Deadpool though, and
They
And did
fixed
it
it.
right, yeah.
They fixed it.
Yeah.
And it was also important in 2006. I didn't see this in theaters, but my mom had rented it because she thought I'd like it. And I watched it, and I was like, this is when I realized that Seltzer and Friedberg are hacks and terrible. It was Date Movie.
Oh.
Date Movie was fucking terrible. Awful. Awful.
The less said
Did you
about
take
the
a date to it?
Yeah. Seltzer and Freeberg, the better.
And then 2007, there are 2, and I saw them both in theaters. First is Mr. Woodcock.
Is that Billy Bob Thornton?
That is Billy Bob Thornton. And
I
Sean
remember
William
it
Scott.
coming out. I never saw it.
The entire point of the movie
only it
is
wasn't.
Sean William Scott was basically tortured by Billy Bob Thornton's gym teacher character throughout when he was growing up. He comes back to town, finds out his mom, played by Susan Sarandon of all people, is dating Mr. Woodcock. He sets out to destroy the relationship and basically get him out of their life. It doesn't. There's no satisfying story here. It's just these two people are dicks to each other. They kind of reach a peace agreement at the end, but it's unsatisfying in every single way. And the next one, in all capital letters, because I didn't learn a lesson, is Epic Movie.
Oh, Chris. Why? Why did you? Why?
Did you
At least
get
I
your money
wasn't-
back?
Did you have a head
No.
injury? Were you feeling suicidal?
Trust me, my punishment was sitting through that movie because, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's not super short either.
Here's where no.
I don't even want to dignify the Seltzer
Here-
and Freeberg by talking about them on
Here's
this podcast.
exactly where I knew my heart sank when I was watching this movie. When they get to the Narnia portion where they go through the closet, and sadly,
So which came first, day movie or?
day movie was prior to it.
I thought that's when you figured out.
No, well, that's what I was like. I was watching this like, oh, this isn't good.
But
Then
this
he
one-
went back for seconds.
This one, I didn't. Okay, I wasn't paying attention at the time as to who was making these. I thought this was going to be different. And again, previews make a lot of things look better than they should.
that's why they're previews.
Yeah, no, that they are very slick advertising for movies you shouldn't go see sometimes. I lost my train of thought. It was
Seltzer Freeberg bad.
yes.
Yeah.
No, that I saw date movie and I was like, oh, this is not good. I saw Epic Movie and this was like, okay, I now know how bad it can get. Because it was early in the film
It
when
was
they did the
epically
Narnia
bad,
bit,
maybe?
and sadly James McAvoy is in there as the Tumnus character.
I
all
remember.
these baby great.
And the part that just kind of like this is not going to be good was the part where very early in the film Tumnus goes to show them around his house and it turns into an MTV Cribs parody.
Fantastic.
MTV Cribs, I'm pretty sure, was almost off the air at that point.
Yeah.
This was not a fresh joke.
No, none of their jokes were.
No, and it was from there, it was just, how do we get them to the next thing we want to parody? Not how do we make a good story with jokes in it? And it is awful.
Did you stay for the whole movie?
Yes, I stayed for the whole movie. That theater was packed, let me tell you.
All right. Well, moving on from that disaster to the year of our Lord 2008.
This is a special year for me.
Yeah, this is the year that I graduated from college and the year that I met you two assholes.
Aye.
We've been friends ever since. 2008, Barack Obama is elected president.
People
One
are
of the
still
best
talking
moments.
about it to this day.
So this is hilarious to me. Apple stock dropped by about 5 billion when a 4chan user made a joke about Steve Jobs having a heart attack that went viral. I counted to make sure I was reading 5 billion correctly. This was also the year that 8 people bought a $1,000 iPhone app that literally did nothing. You paid $1,000 to
It was
download
just-
an app.
It was basically like it was like the rich app, and it just showed like a jewel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just $1,000 for
Just-
something that did nothing.
Just to prove that you were rich.
Yeah. 8 people bought it. And now, my favorite fact of the year. In 1987, Steve Rothstein bought a lifetime unlimited first-class American
yes.
Airlines ticket
I've heard this story.
for $250,000. He flew over 10,000 flights, costing American Airlines over $21 million. They terminated his ticket in 2008.
I think they also terminated it because he let other people use it.
Ah,
I think part was he did something that technically violated the conditions.
yeah. I imagine they would have to find a loophole
So
in that
they
contract.
did. They found the thing that was like, aha, give it back.
So he spent $250,000 to cost American Airlines $21 million.
Yep. Because that also takes into account he was flying free after they were still raising prices.
Yeah. All right, Stan. We got to move pretty quickly, but 2008. What was your favorite
It
film?
continues my crime fiction noir, but this probably goes back to history of violence based on a graphic novel. This would be The Dark Knight. Is my favorite film.
Are
for
all three of us
2008.
in agreement on this? Was
2000,
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
It's not gonna be mine.
And I'm gonna go out there and say for 2 words, Heath Ledger. I mean, his performance of the Joker elevated this from just the standard, DC Universe comic, to the echelons of great movies. Great movie making. Christopher Nolan allowed him to be the Joker, and what a great choice Nolan did for that, and allowing that to happen. And and what's his face is playing against it.
Christian Bale.
Christian
Batman.
Batman. But yeah, Christian Bale playing opposite Heath Ledger.
There was some bad guy in the movie too.
It was wonderful, and something that's not talked about enough. Aaron Eckhart as
Yep.
Harvey Dent / Two-Face, and there is one of the great performances of all time, and cannot go wrong with Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon. Again, great performances. We no longer have Katie Holmes.
Now we've got
We have
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
back to the
A lot of Gyllenhaal discussion this episode.
Well, very poor choice of words.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, Dark Knight, hands down, probably in the sense of why I like movies, probably hand down the greatest example of movie making,
Nice.
especially of that year, if not the decade.
Chris?
Well, like I said, 2008 was special, and Dark Knight was great.
I know what this. Yeah.
He's not my ultimate Joker, but Heath Ledger
Jared
was,
Leto.
was fantastic. I want you outside.
Chris loves
right
Jared
now.
Leto. It's like Jared Leto is.
There's
going to
be a talk with fists if you mention
Robert
that
De
again.
Niro.
Just out of curiosity, who is your favorite Joker?
My favorite Joker,
Cesar Romero, hopefully.
he's close.
Yes.
But Hamill. Hamill's
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, of course.
Hamill's gonna be the ultimate because it has to do with like I would come home after school.
Mark Hamill in the animated.
animated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has everything to do with coming home after school, and that was playing.
Yep.
That was on in that time frame, and I would tune in, and in a combination with the animators and his vocal performance, it just created a perfect Joker. Because it was just he was spouting off one-liners. He was darkly comedic, and he had that anger that would come out when someone spoiled his fun, so to speak. It was just this seething anger that he's like, how dare you try and upstage me kind of way.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, Dark Knight is on my list. 2008 is special to me because I think it's the single best summer movie experience I had that year.
It was pretty awesome, especially since that was the year that I stopped teaching. After the year of teaching.
And the doomsday clock got set back.
And I haven't gone
Anyway,
back.
go on, Chris.
But, yeah.
But that year I saw a lot of good movies. Iron Man,
Iron Man,
Kung Fu Panda,
yes.
is a fantastic movie. I enjoyed the Get Smart movie with Steve Carell.
I'm glad you did.
Shut up.
It was pretty bad.
No, it was not.
It was pretty bad.
No, it was not. It was fun. Shut
We don't
up.
have time to argue, but it was pretty bad.
You're right. We don't have time to argue because I'm right. Tropic Thunder.
You're right. Oh, Tropic Thunder, yes, was on my short list.
Dark Knight, of course. The Wrestler, one of those movies is like,
Oh, shit.
I'm never going to watch it again if I can help it.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic.
And then I made you.
The Wrestler should have been mad, but
And then before I get to my movie of 2008, the last one on my list of runners-up is Step Brothers.
And a silence falls over the room.
I don't care. I don't care.
I do. love
What
Step
makes
Brothers.
that movie work for me is the fact
But
that
it's no Dark Knight.
it's not a. No, you're right. I will cede that.
It's
It's
no
no
Get Smart.
Dark Knight. I did not see it in IMAX.
At midnight in 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
All right, so Step Brothers. What was
Well, let me say, I just want to say, the reason I love Step Brothers so much is it is the fact that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly spend the movie playing roles designed for 8th graders.
Right.
Like, this would be a more serious movie if you actually put children in those roles and it was about them learning to live with each other. But instead, it's two grown man children who are dealing with what is ostensibly a kid's movie plot. And they try to kill each other.
At another time, on another episode, we're going to talk about
Oh, sure.
Step Brothers.
I've got it if you want to watch it again.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We'll do
and
a
you know
round
what?
ta-
We'll
you know
talk
what?
about Get Smart while we're in there, too.
That sounds great. We'll do a double feature roundtable. It's gonna be fantastic.
All right, so your number one.
Is one of the summer movies I saw, and I'm still in love with it. 11 years later, it is Wall-E.
Wally?
Wall-E. I told Dave after we met, and then I talked about it toward the end of the year as like the best romance on screen I saw all year in 2008 was between two robots.
Yep. That was my second place film, actually.
The
That
char-
was my runner.
Came very close, yeah.
the character of Wally is special to me because it's ostensibly is supposed to be a robot. He's just a robot, so designed to clean up the earth. And over was about 700, 800 years, he develops a personality, and they take special pains to show that just by being himself, he affects positive change throughout everyone he meets. Just the entire movie, he just by very carefully being quiet and kind. Everywhere he goes, he leaves a trail of positivity, and I think that's important.
And made, I think it was Wall-E that made the whole aspect. I mean, R2 did it in the early Star Wars, but the idea that you can have a whole leading character be nothing but beeps and whistles,
Kinda, yeah.
be as important as anybody else in the movie, and that carried on with BB-8 and all the new robots for the later films, the later Star Wars stuff, I think.
Debatable to an extent, but Wall-E had so much of an established personality just through how little he did and how little he actually said. Whereas I think BB-8 exists to be adorable.
Yeah, Wally, I think, did have more of an outright personality. He just couldn't vocalize it.
Right.
I mean, like the dance scene where he's dancing along to, what was that, The Music Man?
I have no idea.
It was a musical. It was a video of a musical he had, and he danced along to it. And he
But
had
in
a
the
pet
sense
cockroach.
that a non-speaking robotic
Yeah.
creature could steal a
Oh, yeah.
whole frame of film, that continuance, because with R2-D2, you at least had C-3PO playing against him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so much of the movie,
talking for him.
on his own is silence,
Exactly.
or at least it's incidental. There's no speaking, like especially like when Eve shuts down,
Right.
Awaiting pickup, and he doesn't know what happened, so he's just spending the whole time carting her around, trying to woo her.
Woo her. Robot woo.
Nice. All right. Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. In 2008, I think I listed the worst movie as. Oh yes, Dave might be confused when I say this one. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
the what?
Yeah.
I don't. They made it.
You love that movie.
No,
don't
they
you?
never. No, Indiana Jones. That series ended in the 80s.
with what was it? What was the third one?
There's going to be a fifth one.
No,
Oh,
there can't be
fourth.
because there wasn't a fourth.
There's going to be a fifth because Spielberg
Stop it.
is doing West Side
All right,
Story
so-
before he's doing the fifth.
Oh, that's true. That's
What
true.
was your? Did you have any more worst ofs that year?
No, I guess not.
That
I guess
really
it was just
happened?
a clean. It was a pretty clean year.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
guess so. Nothing awful happened that year. All
I
right.
thought for sure you loved Kingdom.
No, God Almighty. 2008. I'm in agreement about The Dark Knight, favorite movie of the year. Wall-E came close, but ultimately the two runners-up were Iron Man, because how could it not be?
Right.
It kicked off the entire MCU.
It did.
And Martin McDonagh's In Bruges.
Oh yes.
It's a wonderful film
I'm
starring.
gonna go there.
I know you are. It's starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson and Ray Fine. Fine.
Fine.
A fantastic film.
Fine.
Fiennes.
All right. So plowing on through to the end here, there was not really a lot of funny facts about 2009, unfortunately. The only two that really stuck out to me were, I copied this verbatim. Rapper Coolio attempted to stage dive. Nobody caught him. He was beaten up and had his shoes stolen.
Jesus.
Yep.
That's not nice.
And 2009.
That fact was not fun at all.
Oh, it's kind of fun.
No.
Well, that was also the year that Kanye famously cut off Taylor Swift during her VMA acceptance speech.
Good for him.
So, 2009, Stan, what you got? Favorite movie?
I have a three-way tie. It's kind of a encapsulation of type of stuff that we dig as a whole and as a group. The three that I have, because I couldn't make it a runner-up, and then a distinct between these three, because they all affected me in major ways. Some of it differently than others, but they all. District 9, Inglourious Bastards, and Up.
Oh,
Nice.
yes.
And I figured Up would be the film that we could all get behind in that sense. But
Up also has one of the best soundtracks.
Up has
ever.
a brilliant soundtrack.
If
and
you ever want to
man.
cry happy tears, go listen to
Oh,
the song
my
"Stuff We
God.
Did."
yes, it's Randy Newman, isn't it? It's
It's not
Randy Newman.
no, I can't remember the name right now.
But anyway, District 9. Again, I still put that in my noir crime fiction stuff, even though it's an alien science fiction movie. But still, the aspects of noir fiction is still available in it. Inglourious Bastards, of course. Again, I think Tarantino is going to be all over these listings as we go on. As I keep looking at the listings of movies, he is, along with Scorsese, going to be a constant, probably for as long as he's making movies, which may not be that much longer, but he's forever. And Inglourious Basterds, just in the sense that was the first movie where he was going to fuck with reality and make his world the world we wish we could live in. It's like, because we get to kill Hitler in Inglourious Basterds. Slavery gets fucked up in Django Unchained, and then most recently, and probably will be my pick for the 2019 best movie.
Yeah, let's hold off on spoiling Once Upon a Time.
But yeah, that I think Inglourious Basterds is where he started that, and
His alternate history.
his alternate history, and he does it brilliantly, and the people he cast for that movie are great. It's our first getting of Christoph Waltz, and wonderful. And I mean, even Eli Roth as Bear Jew is really wonderful.
Ah, yes, as Bear Jew.
Bear Jew.
Not as the Bear Jew. As Bear Jew.
Bear Jew.
All right.
And then Up, I think it's known enough to know that this is the movie where you had balloons lifting a house, and in the most gloriously beautiful way, and the relationship between the two main characters in that film is just one of the most uplifting, powerful, and it actually, because you all know my hatred of people in general. Up was probably what started me getting back. I can tolerate some things, but Up was the reason for that. So
These years have been a journey for you. Chris, 2009.
Yeah. Oh, it was Michael Giacchino who did the score to Up, and I think he passed recently. I can't remember. He
No.
didn't? Someone did. But
Someone passed, yes.
no, I think it was maybe Harry Gregson
Money.
Williams. A famous composer passed pretty recently. But 2009, Up was on my runners-up. I actually had a tie as well. But my runners-up were Up and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Wow.
I recommend
Yeah, it's a great
that.
movie.
It was a fun movie.
It's great.
It for a book where it was just like basically this, like, food started raining from the sky one day, and that was basically like just a silly story for kids to read. They actually did a good job scripting out a good, plausible, fun story.
Yep.
As to why and how and what the journey is. But my my tie is is two, I'll say, wildly different movies. One is I would say kind of it's a not solemn, but it's very much an allegory for growing up, for getting older and transitioning from being a kid to handling more adult things, and that's the movie adaptation of Where the Wild Things Are.
One of Katie's favorites as well.
Oh my God! It is such a bittersweet, I guess, movie. And one of the last roles that I saw James Gandolfini, well, not saw, but heard him in, because he voiced one of the monsters. And it's just watching this kid just do his best to deal with growing up and new feelings and changes in his life, and he deals with it by going where the wild things are.
Nice.
And it tied with, and I say wildly different, I mean wildly different. It tied with Black Dynamite,
Fantastic.
Brilliant movie.
a brilliant
Wonderful.
parody and satire of blaxploitation. Just absolutely hilarious.
Brilliant.
Your worst ofs?
Oh,
Did you
my
have
worst
any that
stuff.
year?
I did. The worst stuff for 2009 is. Oh, I forgot about this. Well, there's the ones you would expect. There's X-Men Origins Wolverine. There is. On my worst list for this is just. I hated Bruno. Sacha Baron Cohen's follow-up to Borat. It was a fucking disaster movie.
Wasn't 2009 also the year that we saw Transformers Revenge of the Fallen together?
I was getting to that one. I was going to soften the blow a bit.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I hated that movie. I hated that movie because it happened. Production happened during the writers' strike. So not only is Michael Bay's story and put all over this, there's also stock footage in the final sequence of the movie, and it just drags on and on forever, and I hate it. But also in worst of the year, as a surprise, and I'm not sure you'll remember, is a little movie we sat down and watched one night called Donkey Punch.
Oh, yeah. Donkey Punch is great. It's a fantastic movie. I don't know what you're talking about.
I expect you can give the details when you give it on your runners-up.
That's not on there. You should just, if you're
Okay.
listening to this, go see Donkey Punch.
Okay, well, I'll just give a short summary. Kids go on a boat and have a party. Some making out and sex gets out of hand. Girl dies via donkey punch.
If you don't know what that is, Google it real
I'm just
quick.
gonna let you
Come
Google
back.
that.
We're not going to explain it on air.
No. Now that you've seen that, now while they're dealing with that, they also get boarded by bandits, by basically pirates who come to rob them. So yeah, okay.
And it's a
All
comedy.
right.
It's not a comedy. It's funny, but it's not a comedy.
It's a very
Is it
odd horror film.
Like a survival.
Yeah, kind of.
It's meant to be a thriller, but someone dies via donkey punch.
Yeah. All right. So 2009, once again, me and Staniel Day-Lewis over here are in agreement. Inglourious Bastards is my pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Tarantino nerd in me. I loved this film. I think I saw it 3 times in the theater, which if you've seen it, you know that's an almost 3-hour trek throughout that movie.
A 3-hour trek.
And so my runners up for 2009 are probably, I'm going to get some shit for this, maybe from the two of you and then probably definitely from our listeners.
Well, we know Donkey Punch is already on there.
No, sadly. Watchmen, Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
No, that's
Love
fine.
Watchmen.
Lots of people don't enjoy that film, but they can go to hell. I like
It's
it.
weird. It's I do hear people give flack for it, and I don't get it. Like I don't like what Snyder's been doing in DC as of late.
I thought it was a great adaptation for him.
but
Yeah.
he did pretty good. This is his wheelhouse. That story was very much what he was best at.
And he didn't have to hold back. He
No.
could do what he wanted to put there, you know.
And the other runner-up for 2009 is a weird Seth Rogen film called Observe and Report.
Oh, yeah.
love Observer
Which is
Report.
basically what would
It's
happen
wonderful.
if Taxi Driver was a comedy.
Basically, yeah. No, that's
Oh,
it.
it's awesome.
Well, we need to go ahead and wrap up right there. October, listeners, is going to be a big month for us because we're going to have the next part of our new Roaring 20 segment in which we talk about music from the last 20 years. We're also going to be doing another Halloween movie episode, although we haven't settled on a subject yet. And I will also be re-releasing our first 2 episodes that we did with an
Oh.
extreme warning
Wait,
at the beginning of
We
them.
haven't talked about this.
What?
The extreme horror episodes. I'm going to put them together as one episode and release that with another warning at the
All
beginning
right.
of it.
Good luck.
Yeah. Since it's talking about the extremes of the horror genre.
Well, don't listen, Mom, again.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Stan and Chris, for being here today and being part of this discussion with me.
Remember how I pissed you off when I started reading Don Bluth movies?
Yes. You can also hear more of Chris on our sister show, This Is a Work, a wrestling podcast
Fingers
hosted
crossed.
by David Two Dogs Hayes. So if you enjoy this show, please make sure to check out This Is a Work, and also please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. Thank you very much.
Peace out.